Hi, Trade. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Thursday, the 6th of June. All right, as we sort of sneak into the start of the Asian session here, we just take a not quite opening up yet, but not far away. We've got a little bit of a tricky situation, and this is what happens with those geopolitical events, which is sort of what I've been touching on, is the momentum that comes out of these things is very random and sporadic. Okay, now what we've seen is over the last couple of days, a bit of a snowball with the geopolitical events starting to influence the thinking of some Federal Reserve officials in the US. Now, they've been coming out saying maybe we need to cut rates, maybe we don't. We did see the US dollar index dip. You know what? And it was pretty short-lived. As I said, a lot of these situations, the currencies technically can get bashed around a bit, you know, especially on the hourlies, but then they do occasionally break weekly charts. What we've seen is, especially the dollar index and a number of these pairs, the euro, the Aussie, the Kiwi sort of up there in the middle of nowhere. But we're seeing a bit of a fake out, as a lot of people call it, false breaks. And what we've seen is at the moment, the US dollar index in particular, with the various moves across the board on the majors, it's sort of just drifted back into the range. Okay, it's rallied back. Now, and that's so we've got normal liquidity conditions, but we have US dollar uncertainty. And with that comes uncertainty across the board with a lot of these pairs. Now, the RBA cut rates Tuesday, central bank, you know, they're sort of signalling they're focusing on the labour market, so which is next Thursday. So really, the Aussie's now sort of sitting in limbo. It's had a bit of a relief rally, as has Kiwi, as has Euro. Now, they're all sitting right now like sitting ducks. They are just waiting to be sort of pushed around either way. Dollar yen and dollar Swiss, the two safe haven trades. Well, dollar Swiss has come back. It still isn't back to sort of really trading sideways yet. Same with dollar yen. But you know what? The movement, the price action here is a little bit obscure, to say the least. And it's not really confident installing. And I'll just get the charts up now. So you can sort of see what's going on. I left the trend lines where they were from the other day. You can see the Aussie sort of squeezed higher, had a little poke above 70 the figure. The GDP numbers yesterday out of Australia were just off what the expectation was. It was enough to slow down any sort of aggressive move to the top side. And same with the Kiwi. It's had a bit of a rally. Dollar yen just trading sideways. Euro higher and sterling. And then we had dollar CAD lower. Now, what happened at the end there to push this thing around? Now, see how we had this change. Like Aussie's drifted off. Kiwi, you've also got the euro, and even sterling for that matter was even reacting with the rest of the market, and dollar CAD bounced. Now, what was that? Well, it was the ISM non-manufacturing numbers, which were stronger than expected. But let me just show you how like crazy some of the news stuff is, right? It just doesn't make sense. And this is what you got to, I'm trying to like show you, just be aware of the garbage that comes out. And I'm not sort of picking at Reuters or Metastock or anything like that. This is all news services in general. Dollar recoups earlier losses as markets digest weak jobs data. Okay, so if they're thinking about the weak jobs data, which was the weekly number, not the non-farm payrolls, if that was weak, wouldn't it just go down and not bounce? It's like, doesn't make sense. So they're like pondering weak numbers. Oh, let's buy it. Doesn't make sense. The ISM manufacturing numbers were the ones that were stronger, and that was why the US dollar bounced. Now, while I'm on the news pages, I just saw before Trump is saying basically, yeah, we're making some inroads with Mexico, but if we don't get a deal by the weekend, I'm adding an extra 5% tariffs to everything that comes out of Mexico, right? Completely sort of crazy. So then you got the US preparing to sell over $2 billion in weapons to Taiwan, testing China. I mean, this is where it's just like, it's complete mayhem, right? The Trumpinator is just sprayed across all the pages. He is a wrecking ball that just won't stop. Okay, so I don't know what's going on there, but basically what's happened is, if you come back to, let me just come back to the main screen, you have a look at the US dollar index itself, okay, and have a look at the price action here. As I said, the ISM manufacturing numbers, right, if I just scroll, well, get my mouse back, just scroll up a touch. Okay, these numbers here were the strong ones. The manufacturing, obviously a massive component of the US economy, very important. These numbers were much stronger than expected. You know, not through the business account one was, But I was going to say not through the whole top of the range, but it was enough to give the dollar a bounce. And the weekly jobless numbers, which, you know what, going back over time, these weekly numbers are so inconsequential. I've lost my flags here for some reason. That don't get caught up on these ADP employment numbers. Here they are here. So I've just lost my flag. That's why I couldn't find it. Mine 27K versus 180. So you know what? It's the non-farm payrolls, which is the main game. The dollar index itself is, it's coming back into the range. If I just blow this up and give you a bit more data there to sort of digest. Well, let's get that back up. You'll see over the longer term picture, we've had a flush out here of stop losses below 97. Okay, so it's sort of broke down through 97.5. Here was the previous low. It sort of dipped down below 97. Had a real nice, almost like a false break through that figure there and back up into the range. So what do we do now? Well, you know what? This thing here is in limbo. Okay, it's in between, obviously, a bit of a way off the highs, but we've got support levels down here. It's right in the middle of nowhere. So right now we need more information. And where's that information going to come from? Well, there's two major events coming out, right? And this is where you need to start focusing on where the next bit of momentum will come from. And that's the upcoming events. And the two big ones for the week, well, there's actually sort of three. We've got the ECB interest rate decision, the press conference afterwards. That's today. And then on Friday, after this ECB is done, if there's nothing major that comes out, or if there is something major, euro will move and euro crosses. That will influence the dollar index, of course. But then the markets will go to sleep as they wait for the main game, and that is the US non-farm payrolls. We do have the Canadian employment numbers as well. These are two massively volatile releases. Very hard to sort of trade with any sort of sense around, especially the Canadian with the US, both sides of the currency pairs being impacted. But the non-farm payrolls will decide where all these currencies go up here, right? As I said, all the currency pairs at the moment technically are in limbo. Dollar yen and dollar Swiss are just vaguely hanging on to their sort of safe haven sort of setups. And everything I see on the news, it seems to be getting worse. So I'm surprised they aren't going. No one believes any of the news at the moment. And because the currencies have been so difficult to manage with all these geopolitical events, it looks like traders are sitting on the sidelines waiting for the key data, the fundamental data to tell us what to do. All right, so it's a bit of a wait and see just at the moment. As we come into the Asian session, I don't see a hell of a lot of opportunity today. It's going to come from various random news updates. The best thing to do for me is wait for the main event, and that is the ECB today. It's going to be rock and roll. I'm expecting some sort of bearish comments or even some sort of easing to start. Okay, I know Brexit's still hanging around, but they're going to do something before growth goes to negative in the Eurozone. So we'll wait and see how that rolls out, and that's where the action is today for my liking. All right, guys, have a good trade day. We'll see you in the 247 trade zone. Cheerio.